The market smelled like rust, oil, and old blood. It was not a place for the soft-hearted. It was a black market hidden inside a forgotten cargo station near the edge of the Orion Belt. People came here to buy illegal weapons, stolen tech, and sometimes living things. Jocks walked slowly through the narrow path between stalls. His boots were torn, his coat old and dirty. He had not eaten in 2 days, but he was not looking for food, not yet. He was looking for something he couldn't name. He passed cages filled with strange creatures, wound-eyed lizards, tentacle dogs, insect kids with sharp claws. People shouted prices. Others laughed as they poked the caged beings with sticks. Jocks didn't look at them for long. He hated this place, but he had nowhere else to go. A voice came from a loudspeaker above. Final call, it said. Last batch of meat before shutdown. The voice sounded bored, like this. Was just another day. Then Jocks saw them. 2 small figures sat huddled in a cage near the back of the market. Their fur was matted, their eyes wide with fear. They looked like girls, almost human, but not fully. Their ears were sharp and pointed like cats, and long tails wrapped tightly around their legs. Bruises covered their arms and faces. Someone had hit them, maybe many times. Jocks stopped walking. He stared at them, and they stared back. No words. Just silent fear and a question in their eyes. Will you hurt us too? An alien merchant noticed Jocks staring. You want them? The alien said, grinning with sharp yellow teeth. Fresh meat, young, tender. Perfect for rich buyers. Jocks didn't answer. He was thinking too fast, his heart beating hard in his chest. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small chip of credit stick. The screen on it flashed, showing only a few credits left. That was it. All the money he had in the galaxy, not enough for a decent meal, not enough for fuel, barely enough for 2 living beings in a cage. But he looked at the girls again. They didn't cry, they didn't speak, they just looked at him with quiet pain. He remembered a girl from long ago, his sister, maybe 12. Taken during the war by slavers, he never found her. He had promised he would. But he was too late. Maybe now he could save someone else. I'll take them, Jocks said, his voice loud and clear. What? People nearby stopped talking. One man laughed. You buying meat or pets? Another said, crazy human. Wasting his last credits. Jocks didn't care. The merchant blinked, confused, then smiled. You sure? No refunds, no crying later. Jocks nodded. The merchant unlocked the cage. Threw him a dirty leash made of steel. Take them and go, he said. Before I change my mind, the girls didn't move at first. Jocks knelt down and held out his hand. It's okay, he whispered. I'm not here to hurt you. Slowly, carefully, one girl stepped out, then the other. They were shaking. But they followed him. He walked fast, not looking back. Outside the market, in a cold hangar, his small ship waited. It was old and weak, like him, but it could still fly. He opened the door and let them in. Inside, he gave them water and a protein bar. They ate fast, like they hadn't eaten in days. He sat across from them, watching. The older one looked up, her voice soft but clear. Why did you save us? Jocks was surprised. You can talk, he said. Of course we can, the younger one said. We're not animals. Jocks rubbed his eyes, tired and confused. What are you? He asked. The older girl looked at him with sad eyes. We were made, she said, in a lab, for something bad. Jocks didn't speak. He knew now this was not just about saving 2 girls. This was something bigger, something dark. He could feel it in his bones. Suddenly, the ship's warning light blinked. An alert. Someone had placed a tracker. They're coming, the older girl said, her voice trembling. They always come. Jocks stood up fast, heart pounding. He didn't know who they were, but he had a feeling they wouldn't like what he just did. He ran to the cockpit and started the engine. The ship roared to life. Outside, shadows moved near the hangar. Jocks looked at the girls one last time. Hold on, he said. We're getting out of here. The ship lifted, engines burning hot, and in the darkness of space, they flew into the unknown. But trouble was already behind them, and more was waiting ahead. The stars outside the ship were quiet, but inside Jocks's mind was spinning like the engine core. He had just escaped a black market with two living beings no one was supposed to save. Not meat, not pets, something more. Something dangerous. The ship's old systems beeped. Warning of low fuel, low power, low everything. But he didn't care. He looked behind him into the small back room. The two girls were sitting close together on the cold metal floor. They were wrapped in old blankets, their tails twitching softly. Jocks watched them for a moment. He had seen fear before, but this was different. This was the kind of fear that comes from being hunted. He sighed and walked in slowly, careful not to scare them. "Are you okay?" he asked. The younger girl nodded, her eyes large and golden. The older one was quiet. Staring at him without blinking, she was studying him like a puzzle. "You didn't ask for our names," she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. "You didn't give them," Jocks replied. There was silence for a moment. Then the younger one smiled a little. "I'm Leary," she said. "She's Ray." Ray nodded once. "Why did you take us?" she asked. "You don't look like a hero?" Jocks scratched his head, unsure how to answer. "I didn't do it to be a hero," he said. "I just couldn't leave you there. Most people do," Ray said quietly. Jocks sat down on a storage box. "Where did you come from?" he asked. "We don't remember much," Leary said. "Just white walls, cold lights, voices that gave orders, needles," Ray added. "We were made in a lab, trained for something, but then they said we were defective." Jocks frowned. "Defective. Too smart to free," Ray said, her eyes narrowing. "They wanted soldiers, not people." Jocks leaned back. He had heard of this before, whispers about secret programs. Hybrid labs, playing gods with DNA, but he never thought he'd see the results up close. "They were going to cut us up," Leary whispered. "To sell us as food." Jocks closed his eyes. He felt sick. The galaxy had lost its soul. Suddenly, Ray looked up sharply. "Someone's tracking us," she said. Jocks stood. "Alert? How do you know?" "I can feel it," she said, touching the back of her neck. "It's like a buzzing inside." Jocks checked his scanner. It showed nothing. No signals. No heat signatures. But Ray's eyes were serious. She wasn't guessing. "We need to scan." "You," Jocks said. He opened a small compartment and took out a medical tool, basic but useful. He gently ran the scanner over Ray's neck. "And it beeped there," he said. "There's something under your skin." He turned to Leary. Scanned her, same result. Tiny tracking chips not visible to the eye. "Didn't tech military grade. We need to take them out," he said. "Will hurt," Leary whispered, looking scared. "I'll be careful," Jocks said. "But if we don't, they'll find us." Ray nodded slowly. "Do it," she said. "We don't want to go back." Jocks worked with shaking hands. He wasn't a doctor, but he had patched himself up in many battles. He used a sharp tool, alcohol, and a steady hand. The chip came out of Ray first, a small black dot, no bigger than a grain of rice. Then Leary's. She cried a little, but Ray held her hand. Jocks smashed the chips under his boot and tossed them into the waste chute. He cleaned their wounds, gave them pain patches, and sat back, exhausted. "You're free now," he said. "No one can track you." Ray looked at the floor. "Free," she repeated. Like she didn't believe the word, Jocks stood and looked out. The window, the stars blinked in silence, but he knew the quiet wouldn't last. "They'll come anyway," Ray said behind him, "even without the chips." "They'll guess where we're going," Jocks turned. "Then we won't go anywhere predictable," said Leary. Looked up, curious. "Where will we go?" "To someone who can help us find the truth," Jocks said. "A friend who knows how to dig into secrets." "What kind of friend?" Ray asked. Jocks gave a tired smile. "The kind who owes me a favor." He walked back to the cockpit, set a new course. His ship groaned, but it moved. Behind him, Ray and Leary curled up on the floor. Whispering to each other, they were afraid. But not alone. For the first time in a long time, they had someone, and far away. In a dark room full of glowing screens, someone watched a blinking red light disappear. "They're off-grid," a voice said, "but not for long." The hunt had already begun. Jocks didn't sleep that night. The stars outside were calm, but his heart wasn't. He had removed the trackers, but deep inside, he knew it wasn't enough. People who sell lives like meat don't stop just because you say no. He set the ship on silent mode, drifting through a quiet system with no name. Behind him, Ray and Leary slept near the engine room, curled up in thin blankets. They didn't make a sound, but even in sleep, their ears twitched like they were always ready to run jocks. Sat in the cockpit, watching the radar, just empty space, blinking lights, and silence. Still, he had the feeling someone was coming. He opened the storage drawer and pulled out a small metal box. Inside it was a photo. Younger Jocks, standing next to a teenage girl with bright eyes. His sister, she had vanished years ago, taken by the same kind of people who now wanted Ray. And Leary back Jocks had never found her. Now maybe saving these girls was his second chance. The radar beeped. A small blip, then another. Too fast, too direct. Not space junk, not minor ships. Jocks leaned forward, eyes sharp. 3 small ships were closing in from behind. No transponders, no ID, pirates, or bounty hunters. Maybe both. He slammed his fist on the control panel. "Wake up," he shouted. "We've got company." Ray and Leary ran into the cockpit, eyes wide. "Who is it?" Ray asked. "Bad people," Jocks said, flipping switches. "Strap in." The old ship groaned as it powered up. Engines flared to life. Shields rose like weak arms ready for a fight. The enemy ships came in fast. "Fast they're locking on," Ray said, looking at the screen. "They know us," Leary whispered. "I'm scared." Jocks didn't lie, "So am I," he said. "But scared people fight harder." The first shot hit their left wing. A loud bang. Alarm screamed. "Ash!" The ship shook like it was falling apart. "Hold on," Jocks shouted, pulling hard. On the controls, the ship spun, dodging another blast. He flew low through a field of asteroid debris, hoping to lose them in the rocks. The bounty hunters followed, skilled and fast. These guys aren't street thugs. Jocks growled. They're trained, Ray's eyes focused. Her fingers dancing across the screen. "I can jam their signals for 30 seconds. She said, "Do it," Jocks said. Ray pressed the command, and a soft hum filled the ship. The enemy ships blinked off the radar for a moment. Confused, it was enough. Jocks found a small moon nearby, covered in thick dust clouds. He dove toward it like a hawk. The ship entered the clouds, hidden, silent.
Ow.
The enemy ships circled above, but didn't follow. "They lost us," Ray whispered. "Not for long," Jocks replied. "They'll scan the whole system." He landed the ship behind a large ridge. Invisible from the sky, everything went quiet again. Inside, everyone breathed hard, hearts still racing. Jocks looked at the girls. "You okay?" he asked. Leary nodded slowly. "I don't like space fights," she said. "It feels like falling." Ray stood up, walked to the back, and looked at her arm. She had a burn mark from a loose cable during the shaking. Jocks brought the med kit. "And patched her up? You were amazing back there," he said. "I was made for this," Ray said, not smiling. "But I never wanted to be." Jocks looked at her with respect. "You're not a weapon." "Ray, not anymore." She didn't reply, but her eyes softened a little. Leary sat on the floor, drawing shapes in the dust. She looked up suddenly. "Jocks," she said, "why do they want us so badly?" Jocks sat down across from her. "Because you're proof," he said. "Proof of something they don't want the galaxy to see." "Proof of what?" Ray asked. "That you're alive," Jocks said. "That you think, feel, speak, fight, dream." Leary whispered. "They wanted us to be tools." Jocks nodded. "But you're not," he said. "You're people." Outside, above the clouds, the enemy ships were searching. One of them pinged a signal, tracking lost. A voice said, "Should we return?" Another voice, cold and deep, replied, "No, they'll show up again. Human always leads with his heart, and hearts are easy to break." Back on the ship, Jocks activated the stealth drive. It wouldn't last long, but maybe enough. He turned to Ray and Leary. "We're going to someone I trust," he said. "He's a hacker. He can find the truth about who made you and why." Ray raised an eyebrow. "Can we trust him?" Jocks didn't smile this time. "I don't know," he said, "but we're out of options." The ship rose again, silent in the storm, flying toward answers that might hurt more than lies. Asterisk, the hacker's place wasn't on any map. It floated in the dark between two dead moons. A rusty station. Patched together with scrap metal and secrets. No lights on the outside. No welcome signals. Just silence. Jocks guided his ship toward it, hands tight on the controls. "This is it," he said. "If anyone can find out who made you, it's him, Ray." Stood behind him, arms crossed. "What's his name?" "They call him Needle," Jock said. "Don't ask why," Leary whispered. "Is he human?" Mostly, Jocks replied, "But don't stare at his face." Ah! The ship landed with a quiet bump. The girls stayed close to Jocks as they walked through the narrow docking tunnel. At the end was a door with no buttons, just a glowing red eye. Jocks knocked twice, then once more, the door hissed open slowly. Inside, the room was dark, filled with screens and wires hanging like spider webs. In the middle sat a thin man in a chair that looked like it grew out of the floor. He wore goggles that covered half his face. And wires ran into his arms. Well, the man said with a voice like broken glass. "Jocks, the ghost returns." Jocks nodded. "Hello, Needle." Needle's goggle lenses blinked blue, scanning Jocks. Then moved to Ray and Leary. He whistled softly. "You've brought me something rare. They're not for sale," Jocks said sharply. Needle laughed. "Relax. I don't deal in bodies anymore." Jocks stepped forward. "I need answers," he said. "What are they? Where did they come from? And who's hunting them?" Needle's fingers moved like spiders across his keyboard. "Place them in the chair," he said, pointing to a glowing platform. "I'll be gentle." Ray hesitated, but Jocks gave a small nod. She stepped onto the platform, and wires wrapped softly around her arms and head. Needle's screens came alive. Data flashing too fast to read, he frowned, then leaned closer. "Interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting. What is it?" Jocks asked. "They're hybrids," Needle said. "You knew that. But their DNA isn't just alien and human, there's something else." "Something else?" Ray asked, her voice quiet. "Encrypted sequences," Needle said, like. "A lock with no key? These girls were built for more than war." Jocks stepped closer. "Built for what?" "I don't know," Needle replied, "but this wasn't done by pirates or Backley Labs. This was high-level government, maybe off-world syndicates." He pointed to the screen. Project Eden. Jocks froze. He had heard that. Name in whispers long ago. Top secret, Needle said. They made beings that could think faster, feel deeper, and adapt instantly. Supposed to be the perfect life form, but something went wrong. They made us too human. Ray said quietly. "Exactly," Needle said. "And humans ask questions?" Leary stepped up next. Her scan showed similar codes, genetic keys locked inside her cells. Needle leaned back in his chair. "These girls weren't just weapons," he said. "They're carriers." "Carriers of what?" Jocks asked. Needle lowered his goggles, and his pale eyes looked directly at Jocks. "Maybe a cure," he said, "or maybe a weapon strong enough to destroy planets." Jocks felt a chill run down his spine. "That's why they were sold," he said. "Someone wanted to erase them. Or control them," Needle added. "But it's too late now." A red light blinked on his wall. Loud and fast, "Someone just pinged this location," Needle said, standing up fast. "We've got less than 5 minutes, Ray and Leary." "Stepped off the platform? Who found us?" Ray asked. "Could be anyone," Needle said, "but whoever they are, they've got serious tech." Jocks grabbed the chip from Needle's hand. "Is the file complete?" "Half of it," Needle said. "The rest is deeper in a military vault. You'll need access codes and someone brave enough to break into a system built to stop wars." Jocks nodded. "Send what you have to my ship." Needle began the upload, then opened the escape tunnel under the floor. "Use this, it leads to your dock," as Jocks and the girls started down. Needle stopped him. "You're playing with fire, Jocks," he said. "You save them." "But you might start a war." "I know," Jocks said. "But I already started one the day I opened their cage." The tunnel was narrow and dark, but safe. They reached the ship, engines hot and ready. Jocks pushed the controls. The ship lifted, just as red lights filled the sky behind them. "They found us," Leary said, shaking. "Let them try," Jocks said, eyes locked on the stars ahead. "We've got a head start," as they vanished into the void. Needle watched from his screen, then shut down the power and vanished into the shadows. He had seen enough, and he knew this was just the beginning. The stars outside looked calm, but inside the ship, the silence was heavy. Jock sat in the cockpit, staring at the control panel. They had escaped again, but just barely. His hands still shook from the chase, and his mind raced with everything. Needle had revealed. Behind him, Ray leaned against the wall. Arms crossed, eyes narrowed, Leary sat near the engine room, quietly drawing patterns on the floor with her finger. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Ray broke the silence. "You should have left us," she said coldly. "Now you're in." "Danger too." Jocks didn't turn around. "I was already in danger the moment I walked into that market," he said. Ray stepped forward, her voice rising. "But why? What do you want from us? We're not people to you. We're a cause, a mission." "That's not true," Jocks replied, standing slowly. "I don't want anything from you." "You say that now?" Ray said, her tail twitching. "But when? It gets hard. You'll sell us like the rest." Leary looked up, her voice soft. "Ray, stop." But Ray wasn't done. "I've seen what people do when they're scared," she said. "They trade others to save themselves. You say we're special, but special things get locked up or destroyed." Jocks took a deep breath. He didn't argue. Instead, he walked to a small cabinet and pulled out an old metal box. He opened it and took out a photo. The same one he had shown no one else. He handed it to Ray. "My sister," he said. "She was taken by people like the ones chasing you. They called it cleansing, said they were removing risk from society. She was 13. Ray looked at the photo, then back at Jocks. "Did you find her?" Jocks shook his head. "I searched every system, asked every name. Nothing when I saw you in that cage. I saw her. I couldn't save her, but I could save you." Ray's eyes softened just a little. Still guarded, still unsure, but less angry. "I'm not asking you to trust me," Jocks said. "I'm just asking you to give me a chance." Leary stood and walked to the front of the ship. She pressed a small button, opening the window shield. The stars stretched far and wide. "Endless and quiet, where are we going?" she asked. Jocks replied, "There's a place called Dust Haven. It's not on most maps, and it's full of people who don't ask questions. If we lay low there, I can reach out to someone who might help us break into the vault." Ray raised an eyebrow. "Another friend?" Jocks smiled a little, more like a dangerous favor I never cashed in. The ship flew silently for hours. Through empty sectors and cold light, Leary eventually fell asleep, curled under a heat lamp like a cat. Ray stayed awake, sitting across from Jocks, still watching, still thinking. "Do you believe we're weapons?" she asked suddenly. Jocks didn't answer right away. Then he said, "No. I think someone made you to be weapons, but that doesn't mean you are. You think, feel, protect your sister, question everything that's not what weapons do." Ray leaned back. "I dream," she said, almost like a confession. "Sometimes of things I don't understand. Mountains, rivers, a planet I've never seen. Maybe memories from the DNA they used," Jocks said. "Maybe hopes." Ray looked down. "I don't know who I'm supposed to be." Jocks nodded slowly. "None of us do," he said. "Just keep choosing, one step at a time." Suddenly, the ship jolted, a sharp shake running through the floor. Alarms lit up, and the power flickered. "What now?" Ray shouted, jumping to her feet. Jocks checked the screen. A magnetic minefield. He said hidden in this system they were dropping, falling fast. The engines coughed. Sparks flew from the back. Leary woke up screaming. "We're crashing." The ship hit the ground hard, sliding across red sand and smoke. Sparks filled the air, and the walls groaned from the pressure. Then everything went still. Jocks opened the emergency hatch. Coughing from the smoke, they had landed on a dry planet, full of broken rocks and burning skies. Wind howled in the distance, and something moved in the shadows. "Everyone okay?" Jocks asked. Leary nodded, holding Ray's hand. Ray looked around, eyes sharp. "This place isn't empty," she whispered. "Something's watching us." Jocks reached for his blaster. "Get back inside," he said. "Seal the door." But before they could move, a voice echoed across the dust. Not human, not machine, Something in between. Unauthorized vessel detected. The voice said, "Scanning begins now." A strange light passed over them, cold and silent. Ray's eyes widened. "That's not a scan," she said. "That's an awakening." In the distance, something huge began to rise from the sand. The ground trembled under their feet. Sand flew in every direction as something huge rose from the earth. Jock stepped in front of Ray and Leary, one hand on his blaster. Eyes locked on the shadow forming in the dust. A smooth black surface pushed out of the ground, shaped like a tower but alive. It had no windows, no doors. Just moving metal plates that hummed with strange energy. Lines of blue light crawled across. Its body like veins, glowing brighter with every second. "What is that?" Leary whispered, clutching Ray's arm. "I don't know," Jock said. "But it wasn't built by humans." A voice echoed again, calm but loud. "Identification required." Jock raised his hands. "We're not here to fight," he shouted. The voice paused, then said, "You carry forbidden code. Explain." Ray stepped forward. "Do you mean us?" she asked. "Me and Leary?" "Yes," the voice replied. "You carry the Eden sequence." Jock frowned. "That's the name Needle found," he said. "The project." The tower's front opened slowly, forming a tunnel of light. "Enter." The voice said, "Truth must be shared." Jock looked at the girls. "Your choice," he said. "We don't go unless you want to." Ray and Leary looked at each other. Leary nodded, and Ray gave a short breath. "We go," Ray said. Inside, the tunnel was quiet and warm. The walls moved as they walked, like they were alive but peaceful, finally. They reached a round room filled with floating lights and a single glowing orb in the center. The voice returned. "Softer now. I am Archive Unit 9, it said, created before the first human colony." "You know what we are?" Ray said, stepping closer to the orb. "Yes," the AI answered. "You are not mistakes. You are keys." "Keys to what?" Jock asked. "To a choice," the AI said, "long ago. Your creators wanted to unlock the next stage of life. They combined human emotion with alien strength." "They made us," Leary whispered. "Yes," the AI replied, "but they feared. Their own creation, they shut down the project, destroyed the data, and sold the results to hide the crime." Ray's voice was low and shaky. "Why? Why destroy us?" "Because you feel," the AI said, "and feeling is dangerous to those who want control." Now Jock walked to a panel filled with glowing symbols. "So what now?" he asked. "What does this place want with them?" The AI pulsed once, then replied, "This place is not a prison. It is a choice. If the sequence inside them is unlocked, could heal, evolve, or destroy, the code is pure, but the user decides how it grows. You mean they can choose what to become?" Jock asked. "Yes," the AI said, "but there is risk." "What kind of risk?" Ray asked. "You will change," the AI said, "in mind, body, and purpose. You may gain power, memory, or vision, but you may lose your past." Leary stepped back, scared. "I don't want to forget, Ray," she said. "You may not forget," the AI said, "but you may feel different, see different, love different." Silence filled the room. The lights around them shifted color, turning soft and gold. Jock placed a hand on Ray's shoulder. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Not yet." Ray looked at the orb, then at Leary. "I don't want to be used again," she said. "But I don't want to run forever either." The orb opened slightly, revealing a small beam of light. "If you wish to unlock a part of the sequence, place your hand here," the AI said. Ray took a deep breath and stepped forward. She placed her hand in the light, and everything stopped. The room faded. And she found herself standing in a memory not her own. She saw a planet full of green trees and floating rivers. A place of peace, a home not yet made. Voices echoed around her, calling her name, not Ray, but something older. Something deeper than pain, sharp and quick. Her mind flooded with codes, names, and flashes of people in white coats. She saw what they did, how they built her, and what they feared. And she saw one more think ordinance, hidden deep in her. Code, a vault, untouched, Full of answers, the memory vanished, and she fell to her knees. Breathing hard, Jox caught her. Are you okay? Ray nodded slowly. I saw it, she said, where they hid the truth. Leary rushed over, hugging her tightly. I'm here, she said. You didn't forget me. I spoke again. The choice remains, it said. You are free. To become what you were made for, or free to remain who you are? Jox looked at Ray. What do you want to do? Ray stood up, her eyes glowing faintly gold. We find the vault, she said. And we show the galaxy what they tried to hide outside. The red sky rumbled, far above them. Bounty hunters picked up traces of the crash. They were coming, fast and ready. But Ray was no longer just a runaway. She was something more. And now she had chosen her path. The sky above the desert cracked with thunder. But there were no clouds, only engines. Black ships dropping from orbit like silent knives. They had found them again. Inside the buried AI chamber, Jox watched the radar. 5 enemy ships, fast. Armed, closing in, he didn't panic. Not this time. He turned to Ray, who now stood taller, her eyes glowing faintly with golden light. They're coming for you, he said. We can still run. Ray shook her head. No, she said. I'm done running. Beside her, Leary held her hand tightly. I'll stay, she whispered. Whatever happens, we stay together, the AI. Still glowing in the center of the room, pulsed slowly. I can activate the planetary defenses, it said, but they will not stop all of them. Then we fight the rest ourselves, Jox said, loading his blaster. The tunnel above opened with a loud grind, letting them return to the surface. The air was thick with dust and heat, the sun hanging like a giant eye. Jox, Ray, and Leary climbed the ridge and looked out over the sand. Enemy soldiers were landing now, moving fast, scanning, searching. They're not wasting time, Jox muttered. Ray stepped forward, raising one hand. The ground beneath her feet shimmered, as if responding to her thoughts. The AI's energy still moved through her, not control connection. Let them come, she whispered. The first wave arrived, armored mercs with stun rifles and energy nets. Jox fired first, dropping one before they could aim. Ray moved like she had trained for it all her life. But this time, it wasn't training. It was instinct. She slid under blasts, leaped into the air, and struck with pure energy. Her hands glowed as she hit the soldiers, not to kill but to disable. She didn't want more blood, only freedom. Leary stayed behind a rock, watching, guiding Jox with warnings. She's behind the big one. She shouted. Jox rolled and fired, hitting the power core of a mech suit. It exploded, sending smoke into the air. One by one, the enemies fell, but more were coming. A large figure stepped off the last ship, tall and wrapped in steel armor. A voice called out, robotic and cruel. Subject Ray, return to control. Ray stood at the edge of the battlefield, breathing hard. I'm not your subject, she replied. The figure raised a weapon, larger than the others. It's not your choice, the voice said. Ray closed her eyes and opened the code inside her. The ground around her lit up, lines of energy connecting to the AI core below. For one moment, the planet itself responded. A shockwave burst out from her body, pushing the soldiers back. The leader stumbled, his weapon sparking. Ray walked forward, slow but steady. Everything you built was a lie, she said, and now I end it. The leader fired. Leary screamed. But Ray raised one glowing hand, and the blast stopped midair. It dissolved into sparks. The leader tried to run. Jox tackled him from behind, slamming his blaster into the helmet. It cracked, revealing a pale face with cold eyes. Jox looked down at him. You're not in control anymore, he said when it was over. The AI helped disable the remaining ships. The mercs fled, leaving their leader unconscious and tied. Ray stood on the highest point of the ridge, her hair blowing in the wind, her eyes still glowing softly. Tch. Jox came to her side. What now? He asked. Ray turned to him. I saw a vault. In the vision, she said, it holds the truth, the data they erased. You want to release it? Jox asked. Yes, Ray said. The galaxy deserves to know what they did to us. Jox nodded. Then we'll do it. he said together. Dider. Later that night, inside the ship, Jocks connected the half of the Eden file they got from Needle to the main console. The AI had helped decrypt the rest. Ray stood in front of the screen, then looked at Jocks and Leary. You sure? Jocks asked. Ray smiled gently. No more hiding, she said. She pressed send across the galaxy. The file spread. Videos, experiments, names, proof. The world saw everything. Protests began. Systems broke their silence, and labs were shut down. Ray and Leary were still hunted, but now they were symbols. They had names, voices, and a story no one could erase. On a quiet moon weeks later, Jocks looked at the sky from the roof of a small cabin. Ray sat beside him, watching the stars. They still talk about you, he said. They should talk about us. Ray replied, You saved us? Jocks shook his head. No, he said. You saved yourselves. I just gave you a way out. Leary came running up the hill, laughing. She held a broken radio in her hands. It works again, she said. I fixed it. Ray smiled. Good, she said. We'll need it for the next fight. Jocks looked at them both. I thought I was alone, he said. You're not anymore, Ray whispered. As the stars moved above them, the galaxy began to change, not because of weapons or ships, but because two girls who were once sold for meat chose to rise, and a human who had nothing left chose to stand beside them.